Seeing too many Broadway shows, so you don't have to. Episode something something, maybe happy ending musical review. Let's start off by how excited I am that this musical swept the 2025 Tony's nomination with the most nominations for the year. It secured 10 nominations, tying with Death Becomes Her, Buena Vista Social Club for the most nominations of the year. The nominations include Best Musical, Best Book of a Musical, Best Original Score, Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role in a Musical, aka Darren Criss, Best Direction of a Musical, Best Orchestration, Best Scenic Design, Best Costume Design, Lighting Design, Sound Design. They deserve all of it. So let's dive into my favorite musical of all time. And please note, this is a comprehensive review that includes the ending. So if you don't want spoilers, please skip the video. Let's dive in. Maybe Happy Ending is one musical that I never thought I would be able to see on Broadway because it is a South Korean musical from South Korea. I remember seeing this show blow up in Korea back in 2016 when I was growing up there, but I could never get my hands on the tickets. And fast forward fall 2024, I'm walking down the streets of NYC, and guess what I see? A poster for this new Broadway show. I look up the synopsis and realize this show sounds really familiar. This original Korean musical has started its Broadway production in the US last fall. This is so monumental personally, too, because I'm the generation that witnessed how Korean pop culture surged in global popularity and landed on the mainstream media. We saw BTS, Blackpink ruling the charts, K-dramas such as Squid Game dominate Netflix, Korean food such as Korean barbecue, kimchi, and mandu being popularized. On top of that, I saw Korean films like Parasite and Minari sweep the academies, and you physically first-handedly feel the power of cultural influence and soft powers of a country. Because when I was younger, whenever I tell people I'm from Korea, the first response that I usually got was, oh, North or South. LMAO. So receiving that dismissive comments to now getting a whole new reaction, a whole new different response of, OMG, I love BTS, I love Korean barbecue, I love Blackpink. You really witness that cultural soft powers are not at all soft. If anything, it is very tangible. But I never thought the next wave of Korean pop culture domination would be K musicals. I saw it during their first opening week on Broadway and was blown away. The show only has 4 cast members, but the male and female lead played by Darren Criss and Helen J. Shin are on stage singing 99% of the time. This is so impressive because the show has no intermission. I repeat, no intermissions for almost 2.5 hours. These two actors are talking and singing the whole time with no break. You have 24 long, long songs, and you do this like 8 times a week. Their stamina is out of this world. And because there are no intermissions, I saw a lot of people twitching their legs after the first hour and a half because they have to pee. So keep that in mind when you go. No pun intended. Darren Criss and Helen J. Shin play Oliver and Claire, retired helper bots. There is Hwaboon, the plant, played by, well, Hwaboon, the plant. And this is so funny for a Korean person because the word Hwaboon literally in Korean means a house plant. So a plant is named a plant. And the show is set in future Seoul, South Korea, in this high-tech futuristic world. In future South Korea, humans now have helper bots, which are these human-like robots that are supposed to be your friend, secretary, AI thingies. They have ChatGPT like powers, so you can ask them anything, and they tell you all the information in the world using their AI system. The show opens up with Darren Criss, aka Oliver, who is a retired helper bot who lives in this tiny helper bot apartment with his plant Hwaboon. Side note, he keeps talking to Hwaboon, but whenever he calls its name, he says Hwaboon in like an American accent. So he keeps saying like Hwaboon, but he's basically saying plan. What is so funny? Every month he receives a delivery of monthly jazz magazines, so you can see that he's been receiving quite a lot of magazines because it's been like stacked all over his apartment. Every time the delivery guy comes, he asks, hey, do you have anything from my friend James Choi in Jeju Island? And delivery guy says no. And he keeps doing this every month with no sign of his friend James Choi's response. In this monotonous life, one day he hears a rapid knock on the door. Knock, 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 knock. Please help. Is anyone in there? And the knocking suddenly stops. So Oliver, surprised by this disturbance, turns to Hwaboon and says, hey Hwaboon, should we open the door? And Hwaboon doesn't say anything because, well, he's a plant, lol. So he opens the door and what does he see? A female robot frozen in mid-knocking. He realizes her battery died. So he brings her in, recharges her battery, and she wakes up. Her name is Claire. She's played by Helen J. Shen. And she is out of battery because, she's like, I'm an older version of the machine, so my battery is not even produced in factories anymore. So like I'm living on the edge. She then asks Oliver if she can come by his apartment every now and then to recharge her battery since she doesn't have one anymore and she's waiting for it to get fixed. Oliver reluctantly agrees, so they start this new friendship of her coming over to charge a battery. They talk for a while, and yeah, and this continues. And Claire tells Oliver that she too had an owner before she got quote unquote left at the apartment forever. And, the moment her owner got a new husband, she just ditched her. So Claire has been just sitting here and she does not believe in humans. She thinks, humanoids, we just exist to help humans, but they can never love us back. And to that, Oliver says, that is not true. My friend James Choi is totally coming back for me. He just said, he's going to be in Jeju Island to get settled in. And when he's done, getting settled in, he's going to come back and get me. And Claire says, you're so naive. He's not going to come back. Now, one day, Claire says, my battery is about to run out anyways. So you know what I always wanted to see? Fireflies. So these two decide to go on this journey to find James and see the fireflies. So Oliver picks up this glass jar filled with coins that Claire realizes, oh, you're the guy in yellow raincoat sneaking out in the rain trying to find these coins, which you're not supposed to do because helper bots are supposed to not make a living. But the thing is, Oliver has been going through the recycling bin around this apartment to sell, used recycling to save money so he can go find James Choi in Jeju Island one day. So now these two humanoid robots, they pretend they're actual humans and they drive through the futuristic streets of Seoul. They take a boat and they arrive at Jeju Island, which is an actual island in Korea at the south of Korea, known for their beautiful nature. They arrive, they go to James Choi's address, they knock, and a young man comes out and he asks, who are you? And Oliver says, hi, I'm looking for James Choi. And he says, wait, who are you? And Oliver says, well, I'm James Choi's friend. I am his helper bot. And the young man says, oh, I'm so sorry. James Choi was my dad. He passed away, actually. And the thing is, we told him that he can only move in back with his family because his health was declining, but you can only move back with the family if he ditches the helper bot, aka you. Because me, his actual son, I never liked how you were this perfect son that he never had. I always felt second to none. I always felt like he loved you more than he loved me, his actual son. And he only told you to take care of the jazz magazines so you didn't feel completely abandoned. He was never going to come back for you. I'm sorry. You were abandoned, essentially. And then the son leaves. And now all of us are having a breakdown. He's like, oh my God, James Choi actually abandoned me. And a few minutes later, the son comes back out. And then he says, hey, there is one thing that my dad, James, left for you. It is a vinyl record of a jazz record signed by a very famous jazz musician. He saved this in case he ever has a chance to see you again. And he really did love you. Until his dying days, he really did think about you and he loved you. And then the son says, I'm sorry it came to this. And the son goes away. And now Claire realizes, oh, humans can actually love helper bots. I always thought that humans don't care about us robots, but this bond between James and Oliver proves that they can love us too. Now, Oliver is like, you know what, let's go see the fireflies. So they go see the fireflies, and this scene is so amazing. The entire theater is filled with these tiny little LED fireflies all over the theater, and it's so beautiful. And I really hope you can see a footage of this on YouTube because I think that scene alone won them best design category of this war season. Now, Oliver hacks into Claire's brain database secret folder and finds out this deleted video footage that Claire actually does not know about. It is a video footage that shows why Claire got abandoned. And we are not clear why it got deleted, but it later is revealed that the owner deleted it. So in this video, you can see that her owner has a boyfriend and they're about to get married. The girl is very rich and the husband is not as bougie as she is. So the girl asks Claire to give this husband this like Princess Diaries-esque makeover. So teaching him all he has to know about wine and bougie things that rich people do. And then while she's educating this guy, he says, no matter how hard I try, I just know that I will never be one of them. I will never be accepted into this high society. I'm the only person who does not judge me, the only person who loves me for who I am and just does not secretly talk about me behind my back is you, Claire. And then he tries to make a move on Claire, which Claire panics. She's like, wait, what are you doing? And then the owner, she sees everything going down. So she thinks, oh my God, my husband is about to cheat on me with a robot. So she tells Claire that, I'm getting married, I have a husband now, so I can't really bring a helper bot. So bye bye. And then she like deletes this whole like sequence of this guy like hitting on her. Actually, after this sequence, the Firefly sequence comes up, and I'm just so sad that the American audience cannot read the things that's written on the back, like on the stage, because the set is essentially like LED screens, right? And when they talk about fireflies and they talk about anything, AI related, they project these random funny Korean words on screen. So for example, when they talk about fireflies, you see these randomest words like random is like train of thoughts of like fireflies, like their butts light up, they're so pretty. Oh, I wonder if they're tasty. You know what else is really tasty? Like butterfly cocoon. Like the randomest things are written on this background set, and it's so funny for me because like this train of thought literally is so chaotic, and I totally love it. But if you can't read Korean, you can't see it. It's just something that only Korean people notice when they see the show. Compared to the original Korean production, this Broadway production definitely does a so much better job of portraying this firefly sequence, because I think Broadway shows, like the theater is way much bigger than Korean theaters. The budget is bigger. There's even more creative leeway and more people and staff and budget of everything. So it's bigger and it's more wiggle room to really let out your creative side. So anyway, they come back to their solo apartment and they fall in love, but Claire goes, "Hey, we both know that we're older models of the helper bots. Our batteries are running out, and not only is it running out, but it's not being produced anymore in the factory. So sooner or later, we're going to die. Well, I'm going to die because I'm like an older model. So because my engines or my motors are simply just going to stop working, and you can't get replacement parts. So we both know this end is coming, and I think we should delete both of our memories, so when I go away you won't be sad because you don't have memory of me." And Oliver says, "No, like, yes, I'll be devastated when you go away, but I still want the pain. Like, I still want the devastation because I don't want to just delete the memory of us. Like, we had good times, bad times, but that's all these emotions, even the bad ones, they're a part of life. That's what it means to be a human or a humanoid." So Oliver doesn't want to delete the memory. Claire says, "No, I am going through with this because I don't think I'll be able to live with this devastation." So they both decide to delete their memories forever. Fast forward 2 months later, as always, Oliver is home, just cleaning, talking to his baboon, sitting around. And then guess what? Someone knocks on the door. A girl knocks on the door. A girl goes, "Knock, knock, knock, knock. Please help me. Is anyone in there? Please help." And then she freezes me knocking. And Darren Criss goes, "Baboon." She opened the door. And then he opens the door. Guess what he sees? Claire, frozen mid-knocking. So then, of course, Oliver brings her in to charge her battery. They talk about, life. And then Claire says, "Hey, my battery's gonna run out pretty soon. Can I come over once in a while to charge my battery?" And Oliver reluctantly says, "Okay." And then while Claire's doing her thing, he turns to Haboon. This is the climax. He turns to Haboon and whispers, "Don't tell her, Haboon." And then the show ends. What? Mic drop. And I think this is such an amazing show. And, Oliver secretly did not delete his memory. And he still has all this beautiful memory from with Claire going to Judge Island. And now he gets to relive them in a certain way with a woman who does not remember anything of all the adventures they had together. And not only was the plot amazing, but I just thought everything about this musical was so groundbreaking, because I loved how, they said, how magnificent Darren Criss is. And I know he's half Asian, like he's half Filipino and half white, but I don't know what makeup they put on him, but he really looks like a Korean robot, at least for me, which I thought was really cool. And I think when you see movies or read books that were originally written in a different language and then it gets translated to another language, it is very easy to lose some of its authenticity. Just, that's how nature of like translations work. Like some of the nuance and the small things get lost. But this show, I don't know who translated the script, but I thought it was such an amazing work because it's so seamless. It really does feel like this was written in English to begin with. There's no that awkward forced translation between Korean language and English. It just seems like it was its own production. And like whoever the translation is, a big kudos to you. You honestly made this whole show happen, honestly. And it really makes you think, like, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to have a heart? And if the end is coming, like what choice would you make? Would you be like Claire and delete all the memory to take the easier route? Or do you stand like Oliver and just live with all these sad memories, knowing that that's what makes life life? So this is like a really cool philosophical questions you get to think about after the show. And personally, I was initially worried that the show won't be as successful as it deserves to be because, it is from Korea, and I just thought maybe the New York audience might feel this like sense of barrier into like enjoying the show. But this nomination and record-breaking news is a testament to how open, curious, and explorative New Yorkers are when it comes to exploring new arts. And it really makes me realize New York City is never afraid to try new things. And it is amazing that the people were all able to see how amazing this production is. They like went through with the barriers and they still appreciated it. And fun fact, this Broadway show actually got sponsorship from CJ Entertainment, which is a big Korean company who actually was in charge of Parasite distribution on the film in America a few years ago. They also own BBCO, which is the famous frozen Korean food brand that you can see in Costco. And they also own a lot of F&B industries such as Duleju, which is this famous Korean bakery in New York City and all across the US. So CJ teamed up with Broadway Musical, and this is how the show came to be. I hope you can actually go on YouTube and find the performance from the original Korean production because it's really cool. It's really interesting because it's the same songs and melodies, but the words are in a different language. And I think it's really cool seeing how different productions have their own way of telling their own story. So the show had obviously had a huge success in Korea, and it actually did have like a 2017 production in Atlanta, and it is actually the first ever Korean show that has such a great scale of producers and writers, and it's an open run. It's not a limited production anymore. Now Korean musicals are getting open runs on Broadway, and I heard that like all the blocks of tickets are mostly sold out because of how popular the show is doing, which is amazing. And I think the biggest difference between the original Korean production and the Broadway adaptation is that the original Korean production, they never tell you why James left. They just tell you like, oh, James existed and then he's gone. Bye. But in the American production, they tell you like James had to leave because, his health was not good, and then he had to go move back with his family and the son didn't approve it, so he had to like ditch Oliver. So you get all these like backstory about James, which is really cool. The original Broadway cast recording just got released last month in March, which I think you should all check it out. And there's also an independent film adaptation of this musical. It's an hour and a half long. It's a Korean independent film, but I don't think you can see it anywhere on the US platforms as of now. I don't know. Maybe you can find them. I can't. But it's really cool. It was also personally exciting for me to meet Darren Criss because I've been a huge fan of Glee. Because I'm the generation that grew up with Glee, and I never would have even dreamed about moving to New York City and going to school in New York and America, if it weren't for Glee, because it really helped me get interested in the life of performing arts, life in New York, and it just really gave me the audacity to even dream about moving to NYU. So it was really essential that I meet Darren Criss in New York City, and I wrote him like this really long handwritten letter because I was chosen to be one of his meet and greet squad back in 2023, his Christmas show. But I showed up too late for the meet and greet, so I couldn't meet him. So I waited outside the stage door till like 2 a.m. to give him the letter, and I couldn't because I think he went outside a different door. I should have given it to the manager who was like, I don't know, standing behind me, but I didn't. So this letter has been sitting on my desk for almost a year and a half, and then I finally got to give it to him after this show during their first opening week when I got to see it. And I told him about my story and he was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." He was also wearing a mask because he wanted to protect his voice and he couldn't take photos because there were so many people waiting for his autograph. So he was just like, "I'm gonna go around inside and you can take photos of me, but I can't take photos with you," which was really fun. But it was really cool. He's Blaine, like, hello. But yeah, it's very monumental, very personally fulfilling to see a Korean musical do so well with the American audience. And not only that, it stars my personal hero, Darren Criss. And it's just such an amazing culmination of how far, society, we as a society have come to appreciate arts regardless of backgrounds. And it's definitely sending a message in times like this to appreciate art for what it is. So yeah, thank you so much for watching 21 minutes of a video. I hope you like this video, like and subscribe for more Broadway content, and I really hope this show wins all the Tonys it deserves this coming summer. Thank you.